Good afternoon, everybody. This is Matt and Janine, and we are going to be doing update and interview for April and slash May.
So first, we wanted to start off with a few life updates and channel announcements. So the first thing we want to talk about is our interview of Vertical Harvest that we had on April 21st.
Mm-hmm.
It went very well, and we are supposed to be finding out more details of when an exact start date is going to be in a couple of weeks. So
And
we'll
if you are interested, if you type in Vertical Harvest on your browser or YouTube, you may find a couple of stories about how this has been in the process for the last 5 years in development in Westbrook, Maine.
Okay, the next announcement is about your radio show, so take it away.
So on June 8th, I'm going to be on the live air on Portland's WMPG 90.9 FM. So if you type that in and you find that website, and or if you have it on your radio local, you can listen at 5 o'clock to 6:30 about my promotion for going bowling in a few moments and some highlighted music.
Um, the next announcement is for our Double House Arts fundraiser. Our annual Double House Arts fundraiser is on June 13th from 5 to 7 p.m. at 122 Spring Street in Portland. Please come by and support our collective. Our theme for this semester is Friday the 13th, which is a little bit off season because this is a spring fundraiser, but that's fine. Um, the last life update I have is the play that I'm doing. My art teacher Amelia is inviting me to be part of her one act play. Rehearsals are starting in 2 weeks, and our show opens on June 20th. We will be doing four performances, two which will be at Mechanics Hall in Portland, and two which will be at Rising Tide Brewery in Portland. We will have the dates for my show in the description box, and if you are interested in coming, please message me on Instagram because I will have information about tickets and how much they are in the next couple of weeks if you would like to come. The play is called A Tincture of Time, and it's a medical drama that is sci-fi. So this is my first play like that I've been in, and I'm very excited. And thank you, Amelia, for this opportunity. A couple of channel announcements now for upcoming videos. Um, our next episode of the From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR podcast will be up on Kathleen's channel on June 2nd. Um, exact time has not been decided yet because it depends on when she can edit both parts of the podcast together because we had to film it on two different days. And then our next monthly wrap up for entertainment for May and June will be out on June 26th, which is the Sunday before 4th of July. We would like to first begin. So we just got back earlier this afternoon from visiting our friends in New Hampshire. We went to see our friends Amanda and Laura in their Shrek play,
And it
and
was in Wyndham High School at the Wyndham Actors Guild.
and we went to support our friend Sonia and the rest of our Sohegan Valley chorus friends in their spring concert. So first of all, let's talk about Shrek. Um, Shrek has been done a lot over the past couple of years in local community theater. I have been in it twice myself, once with the Amherst PTA and once with Friends of the Amato Center, but we have previously seen it at Actor Singers,
And Barn Playhouse of New
Barn
London, New
Playhouse,
Hampshire.
and Peacock. Peacock was the third place we started at back in like 2014 or something. Because I remember we started there. I can't remember who we knew that was in it, but I'm sure we could find the information for past cast information on the website. Because I remember that year, Suzical was their was their spring show, and Shrek was their spring show, so or fall show. So this is our fourth time seeing Shrek the musical. And this time, as Matt said, we went to Wyndham High School to see it. And interestingly enough, somebody from our production from the Amherst PTA, aside from our friends Amanda, Laura, and James Milton, was also in this show. Her name is Laura Legault. Lauren Legault. She played. Who did you say?
I said she played Fiona, but previously when we did the Amherst PTA play, she was one of the fairy tale creatures. I think Mama Bear. And boy,
So,
I'll never forget my role as a guard.
so yes, Lauren Legault played Princess Fiona. Um, our friend James Milton played Donkey for the third time in a row. He was great, and all three times he did this part. The first time was when we were in it with the Amherst PTA, and then the second time was a couple of years ago when Actor Singers did Shrek. And then our other standout performances of notice were Dragon, who was played by Heather Schmidt, um,
And Randy Williams as Pinocchio.
and also um, the young and teen Fionas, who were played by Trixie Simmons and Evelyn Roach. And our favorite songs in Shrek are Forever, I'm a Believer, I Know It's Today, I Think I've Got You Beat, A Story of My Life. Now we will talk about the Sauhegan Valley Chorus Concert. This year, for their spring concert, their theme was from both sides now, from Broadway and beyond. So the first half was Broadway songs, and the second half was like pop and rock and stuff like that.
And the location for the Sauhegan Valley Chorus concert for the spring was at the Unitarian Church of Milford, New Hampshire. So the chorus like to go there for their practices, which for the season gets on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m.
So, if you live in the greater area of Milford and Amherst and would like to join Sauhegan Valley Chorus, as people who used to be in it, we can say that we had a really fun time. They had a note to Jen in the playbill, which I will read really quickly. Dear Jen, each season you take us on a new musical journey. We may be headed anywhere from Victorian London to Broadway, and in time past or present, and it's an adventure every time. Along the way, you make our voices one and put new music in our hearts. Thank you for giving Sauhegan Valley Chorus over 20 years of your talent, inspiration, and joy, and for taking us all along for the ride. Our heartfelt thanks, SBC singers through the years.
So in the first act, it started off with a medley from a musical production called My Fair Lady.
Which we have seen before at Manchester Community Theatre Players when Sophie played Eliza. And also, we have seen it at Riverbend Youth Company because I remember Andrew was Mr. Doolittle.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew Andrew Cass. Um, so yeah, my favorite song from that medley is um, "On the Street Where We Live," which is sung by Freddie. Um, the next song is from another Lerner and Lowe musical called Camelot, which I have never seen, but I learned about it when I read Julie Andrews' memoir last year because she was in the original Broadway cast, and that is set during the time of King Arthur. And the soloist in this song, her name is Mimi Dumonchel. She did fantastic.
After that came Welcome to the Renaissance, and that was the opening production of Something Rotten.
Something Rotten is a musical that Jenner Doty introduced me to in 2015 or 2016 when it first came out on Broadway. I remember we went out to lunch at um, Martha's Exchange one time, and she was telling me about how she went to New York City to see this show with her sons Ben and Jacob, and she told me to check out the soundtrack, and I did. And this is one of my favorite songs from it. And again, the soloists in this song were our friends Judy, Jonathan, Martha, Jed, Patrick, Sonia, and a new person, Kelly Rabden. all did fantastic with the solos. And Welcome to the Renaissance is probably one of my favorite songs that they have did in the Broadway section of this concert. The next song that they did was Found Tonight, which is a mashup of You Will Be Found from Dear Evan Hansen and The Story of Tonight from Hamilton. Great mashup, great songs. Um, the next song was another mashup of Aquarius and Let the Sun Shine In from Hair, which was a lot of fun. We have seen Hair on Broadway in 2009 when our friend Jay was in it.
And then the last,
Rest in peace.
rest in peace.
So last year we found out that Gavin Creel, who was in Hair on Broadway, died from cancer, and our hearts are with his co-stars, including our friend Jay, who grieve his death. The next song we wanted to talk about is Corner of the Sky, which is from Pippin. Pippin is a musical by Steven Schwartz, who is the same guy who wrote Wicked, and we saw that a couple of years ago at Actor Singers. It's about circus performers, I think. I love Corner of the Sky. It's such a pretty song.
And during the intermission in this concert, donations were made, and there was a 50-50 raffle for extra prizes. And your donation, there were some food and refreshments on the table. And then afterwards, we went to Act Two. And there were five more pieces that the chorus did, which was Pop and Beyond. The very first one actually it was like a mighty stream, and I sung that earlier in the season at the Unitarian Church of Portland.
The next song that they sang in the second half of the concert was Both Sides Now by Joni Mitchell, which Jed Holland, if you watch this video, could you leave a comment below? Because I'm pretty sure that we sang this song in a UU choir church at Nashua UU a couple of years ago. If I'm wrong, correct me. If I'm right, let me know too. But I love that song. It's by Joni Mitchell and it's from 1970.
And then we finished out with Music of Life, There Will Be Come Soft Rains, and Train for Jubilee.
Our favorite songs in the first half of the concert were I have it written down here. Welcome to the Renaissance, Both Sides Now, and Found Tonight. And then in the second half, Like a Mighty Stream, and Both Sides Now.
And when we took our friend Alexandra McKay from Nashua, New Hampshire, she just liked the music, but she didn't have a favorite.
Right.
But what happened was we were on such a tight schedule, and we knew that our friends at the Shrek were going to have a very late dinner, that we just had something to eat quickly along the way. So if you guys are interested in meals on the weekends, I would not recommend dinner at past 10 p.m.
One thing that we also noticed in Shrek was that the microphones didn't seem to be working right because we had trouble hearing people, especially noticeable, and I noticed today with the mic for young Fiona and teen Fiona, and also in the scene where Donkey is in the Dragon's Keep before they sing Forever, I had trouble hearing the guards.
And now we're going to have an update on some books right here. And first one we want to mention is Comparison with Good Neighbor and Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
So we listened to the biography of Mr. Rogers by Maxwell King on audiobook starting in March and ending on April 2nd or 3rd.
It was late in April, actually.
Or late in April. It took us a while to get through this audiobook. It was narrated by LeVar Burton. For those of you 90s PBS fans, LeVar Burton was from Reading Rainbow.
And also Jodie LaForge from Star Trek Next Generation.
So we really liked this audiobook, and we felt like the movie with Tom Hanks, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, stuck really close to the narrative of the audiobook. But what differences did we notice between both?
Well, in the movie, Janine, it was just based on a true story that Fred Rogers was friends with this character who was having an abusive kind of family relationship with his father.
Mm-hmm.
So he was expressing his concerns, and Fred kind of made him feel comfortable
Mhm.
afterwards.
Mhm.
This was based in 1998 when it was down to his last couple of years that he was producing episodes of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood.
Mhm.
And in the book Good Neighbor, this is where Fred himself goes for his life from his childhood to the death in 2003. Now, most of his life was dedicated to him being a vegetarian, but for a long while, he did not see the doctor because he thought he was very healthy. But then, when those pains in his stomach came, then that seemed like a shortcoming for him.
So we gave the audiobook of The Good Neighbor 5 stars, and the movie with Tom Hanks, 8 out of 10 stars on IMDb.
Right. And now Gene has some books to share.
So I wanted to provide some reading updates for my Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR and my TBR for um Asian Readathon. We'll start first of all with Asian Readathon because that has the fewest books. So at the at, right now for this TBR, I am reading 2 books. One is called Natural Beauty, which is about beauty standards in China. And it's by Ling Ling Huang, who just came out with a new book that is also on my Asian Readathon TBR called Immaculate Conception, which should, which I would hope will be in the library soon. And I am on chapter 20 of this book right now, page 178. Um, the next book was recommended to me in a video that with Cindy made last year, where she was making a recipe and reviewing books. It's called Portrait of a Thief, and it's a heist novel that is talking about Asian American students who go to art school and rob a museum. So think Ocean's 11 if you've seen that movie with Asian American characters. It's really good. I mean, I'm not really into heist novels very much, but right now I am on chapter 29. The next book is called Chocolat by Joanne Harris. I borrowed this book from Matt's mom, and this book was published in 1999. The movie came out in 2003. It is set in Paris, France, and I can't wait to watch the movie because I love movies that are set in France, especially the Murder Mystery 2 movie with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. Currently, I am on page 130 for the so we're on for Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR now, not Asian Readathon. The next book for Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR is the Matzo Ball. This is a book about 2 people named Rachel and Mickey, Rachel and Jacob, and I picked it up because it connects to the Friends episode, the one with the holiday armadillo, where Ross teaches Ben about his Jewish heritage, and I am currently on um
Chapter 11.
page 118.
And also, Gene has a book called Jurassic Park, which, if you guys are interested in the movies, maybe you have seen Jurassic Park at some point. But
So this book was by Michael Crichton, and it came out in 1990. So this is the first book in a huge book series about dinosaurs, and I can't wait to get further into this series. I gave it 4 stars. Chocolat is probably going to get 5 stars because of the Paris setting. Um, this last book that I wanted to talk about today was recommended to me by Rachel Catherine, and it's called Fragile Sanctuary, the first book in the Sparrow Fall series. And not only did I hear about this book from Rachel Catherine, but I saw it on a TV couples book recommendation list on Instagram, which I'll try to link below if I can find the post. Um, that was for Chandler and Monica, and I think it was well suited for that recommendations list because it definitely um represents Chandler and Monica's friends to lovers relationship very well. I gave it 5 stars.
And before we move on to movies, a reading update for me. I just completed in the past couple of weeks this book from Jeanette McCurdy called "I'm Glad My Mother Died," and I read the second part of it after her mother's death, and it really took her on a kind of a roller coaster ride where she was going from bad eating habits to getting some help that she really deserved. And now, instead of child acting, she has become a publisher.
We will be talking more about I'm Glad My Mom Died in the next podcast episode we're doing with Kathleen when we talk about m- mothers and daughters relationship for our Mother's Day segment. In that segment of the video, we will also be discussing Crying in H Mart, Little Mermaid 2 Return to the Sea, um, mother child relationships and Friends and Gilmore Girls, and I feel like there's one more book besides I'm Glad My Mom Died or another movie. Oh, Kim Possible Mother's Day.
That's right.
So stay tuned for that.
Now, we were going to watch the Batman Forever movie, but on Amazon Prime, we found that 1995 movie wasn't free on Amazon Prime. So,
We will try to find it at the library, and instead we will talk about the Seinfeld episodes we watched, which were the parking garage and the test. So in the parking garage, Elaine, Jerry, Kramer, and George are all walking around the parking garage at the mall in New Jersey trying to find their car because they can't remember where they're parked. And then Jerry and George both get apprehended by the security guard at the parking garage for like urinating in public, which is I feel bad for George in this episode because he's going to be late for seeing his parents for their anniversary dinner, and he doesn't get to the dinner on time, obviously, because it takes him until 7:45 to find their car in the garage.
and with the population, with millions of people around the area, that's just a lot of people in a big space. So that was before we had all cars where we had the push button keys.
Season 2 of Seinfeld, for those who aren't familiar with this show, came out in 1991. So this was before Friends. And I used to watch this show with my parents. It was on right before Friends and the must see TV show block. I mean, I was 10 or 11 at this time when I was watching the show with my parents. I don't know if it was kind totally appropriate for me at that age, but fine.
But the other episode that we watched soon after that called the test.
So this is an episode where George has to take an IQ test for his girlfriend Monica, but he knows he's gonna fail it, so he gets Elaine to take it for him, and Elaine ends up failing it because she takes it at a restaurant that's really noisy. This restaurant that they go to is a restaurant that just opened by a Persian guy, and Elaine is distracted from taking her test because Kramer and Jerry are there ordering food and talking to the waiter. The waiter is from Pakistan, but he's serving all kind of other dishes that are not from Pakistan. So Jerry recommends him that he should serve Pakistani food to try to get more customers, but then still no customers come. My theory on that is that that restaurant was not getting a lot of customers even without the guy serving Pakistani food. So he was probably not going to get a lot of customers anyway.
Right.
And Elaine has to take the other she has to take the IQ test again, and this is where she gets found out by his George's girlfriend who's giving the test to him because it takes her a while to deliver the envelope with the test back in it. And also like it the first time he took the test, it gave it away because Elaine spilled something on his test paper, like water or coffee or something like that. So we gave the parking garage how many stars?
I think we only gave it the parking episode 5 out of 10.
And then we gave the test 8 out of 10.
Mhm. And now we would like to talk about a movie that we just recently watched called The Sandlot. Janine wanted a movie in the category of baseball. And so I suggested that The Sandlot would be an obvious choice. So the plot of this movie dates back to roughly circa 1962, 30 years in in the past from where the narrator was a baseball announcer and recreating a story about a certain baseball player that he knew.
Mm-hmm.
So he was new to the neighborhood, and it seemed like it would be all a hard thing to make new friends. And the boys that he was making friends with eventually let him play baseball. But at first, they thought because he didn't know how to play, he would not be acceptable.
Right.
But the big part of the movie is when he ends up with his father's Babe Ruth signed baseball.
And he loses it in the neighbor's yard, and the neighbor has a very terrifying looking dog that like buries all of the baseballs in the backyard. So the neighbor who owns the terrifying dog is played by the late James Earl Jones, who was also the voice of Mufasa in The Lion King and other movies. What other movies did he do?
There were a few others, but
Was he in Star Wars?
I think maybe
Yeah, I think he was Darth Vader, right?
I think Darth Vader. So I don't want to spoil too much of it, but eventually the dog does turn out to be a good Samaritan after the boy gets his ball back, and then he uh, he ends up getting a little crushed to prevent him from chasing after him some more. But we gave that an A plus, A minus actually. And what we're going to be reviewing in Manhattan to Stars for the TPR broadcast will be when we watch the movie called Pride and Prejudice.
Yes, that's another movie we're going to be doing a book to movie discussion about for that. So for the book to movie discussions for the video for um the next podcast episode, we are going to be reviewing Angela's Ashes, Pride and Prejudice, The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, and Tuck Everlasting. So it's going to be a great video, a longer video than usual. So stay tuned for June 2nd.
And another one that's going to be on the TBR podcast will be with Matthew Perry's birthday, the review 17 again.
So this is an announcement for the future. Kathleen and I will be bringing our Friends and Gilmore Girls podcast to WMPG Radio on Sunday, August 10th, where we will be celebrating both Matthew Perry's birthday and my birthday. We will be playing songs from 1969 and 1985. We will be reviewing Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, Our Town, and 17 again, and to wrap up the radio show, we are going to be playing songs from Matthew Perry's movies in the 17 again musical, which will be exciting because I haven't heard any of the songs yet from the 17 again musical, and maybe it will encourage me to go to New York to go see the play because I haven't seen the play yet. It's a fairly new musical that just came to Broadway at the end of last year, so I'm super excited. And I really wish Matthew Perry had lived to see this show on Broadway so he could have reprised his role as Michael O'Connell from the film.
Now, when we post this video, I mentioned on my WMPG radio telecast that I'm going to be talking about the sport of bowling and how it's been contributed. But if any of you want some other recommendations for songs to play on the radio, leave a comment down below. And for categories I would prefer categories about bowling, maybe from 1962, which was a beginning for bowling on television, and also the year I started to watch bowling for professional, 1987.
If you can't find any songs specifically related to bowling, then it's okay. if you recommend a song that is from either of the 2 years that he mentioned, that would be fine too.
Okay, so have a good month of May and a great Mother's Day, and be kind to your mothers, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in. Have a great month.